We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to say thank you, fellas, for getting on tonight. This is our men's call. We do it the third Monday of every month. This is only our third one that we've done, which is great. It's an opportunity for men to kind of share. A lot of times we go through things we don't get a chance to kind of really share or talk about what we're going on personally, financially, business wise, spiritually. So it's been a great call. It's been a great brotherhood. But the gentleman I got speaking to us tonight, man, this is my brother. I've known this gentleman since 2006, 2007. We were in a speaking company together called Monsters Making It Count. And you know how you walk into a room and you see this guy, like, man, who is this guy with this Gangster Love t-shirt on? People flocking around. I said, who wears a shirt that says, t-shirt that says Gangster Love? So he introduced himself, like, I'm the Gangster of Love. My name is Caz Harleaux, blah, 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 blah. I'm an actor, and me and him kind of we gravitate toward each other. We stayed close whenever we would travel and speak, but hit each other up on the road. And I got very close to this gentleman because I was going through my divorce and separation. And then when I lost my dad, he was the first person I called because my dad died at midnight. Who else can I call at that time but my brother? So, and I love this gentleman. Yeah, we've been through a lot. We talked a lot, and I wanted him to get on this call and kind of share his story. And I have a brother that's physically my blood brother, but me and him could not be any closer than what me and my brother are. Like he knows stuff about me that I never shared with my own brother. So I wanted to bring this gentleman on. He's an actor. This gentleman can play the guitar. This gentleman can sing. This gentleman has an NAACP award nomination. He's the voice of LA. When Kobe passed, they did the tribute to LA, and he was the voice. He got a new contract with Amazon. He does WWE voiceovers. He has a book coming out called Jump Twice, and that's none other than my friend, my brother, Mr. Caz Harleaux. Kaz, appreciate you, man.
Man, hell of an introduction, man. Appreciate you.
So Kaz, man, share with the group of men. Man, what inspired you to do this book? And what like we've known each other 20 years and I've watched you grow. I celebrated your 30th birthday with you, the 26th birthday with you, your 30th birthday with you. So I watched you grow. And you went through a divorce. You went through some challenges in life. You lost your mom at 19. And can you just share with the gentleman I have on the screen what inspired you to do this book?
Yeah, man. The book the book came out of a bit of an awakening in 2018. And things were, going well for me in my life, in a lot of ways. But still something was missing. I got divorced in 2016 from a woman who I still am very close to this day. We're very cool. We grew up together, dated since high school, and we're married 12 years together, more than 20. And after that experience, I was close with her family. I mean, her family went to high school with my family. Her mom and dad went to school with my mom. Her brother, my uncle, dated her dad's sister, and so we were all, it was very close. Um, and LA, I don't know where everybody's based, but I will say this, man. LA's a trip because it's like the biggest, loneliest city. Like people are here, and there's 10 million people in the greater Los Angeles area. And I look around and I see so many people who just seem alone. I hear so many stories about people who feel alone. And that wasn't my experience. But what needed to happen for me was I needed to spend some time alone. And so I did that. And I found myself in this space of just listening for the truest, quietest voice. I talk about it in the book. And it's really that thing, it's prayer, it's meditation, and over the course of several months, I just started writing, man. I started writing down thoughts, ideas, and four things kept returning for me: experience, multiply, learn, share. Experience, multiply, learn, share. These four verbs that are ever occurring in our lives, we're always experiencing something. We're always in the midst of something. How are you mindful in that experience? Where are you? Are you right where your feet are, or is your mind somewhere else? When you multiply, what are you multiplying in thought and deed? Are you sending out good images and words and ideas? Or are you multiplying in negativity? What are you learning? And the thing that tripped me out about learning was it was like as you're constantly downloading, at some point you think you're not anymore. You think you tune out. So whether you're doom scrolling or whatever it is that you're up to, you're learning even when you think you're not. What is it that you're learning? And finally, the same with sharing or uploading. What are you giving? What are you sharing? And the crazy thing that, is not some sort of like revelatory thing, but even when you choose not to share, you are in fact sharing something. And so I sat with those four things and they became the pillars of the book. And so I follow this whole thing about, I talk about the meaning of life. And, I'm a word nerd. I love words. And so I got into like, what does that mean? What is the meaning of life? And so I break it down into this really long definition that is essentially the explicit significance of the awareness of our consciousness. What is it that you were doing here on planet Earth? So I talk about meaning and purpose. And the idea that meaning, for me, I say that meaning is finding your gift. And then I say your purpose is to give it away. And so as I started to develop those ideas for myself, the book sort of wrote itself, man. That was the kind of cool thing is that I just sat my ass down in a room and wrote every day until it was done, until I had nothing else to say. And that's about how the book came to be.
So, when you sitting down and writing, you know, the pages just kind of started coming to you. And you talk about purpose and meaning. How can we get greater awareness through those four pillars? Like everybody on this screen is dealing with something different.
Yeah.
And I know you dealt with stuff, I dealt with stuff. How can we really deal with those processes and going through those things and find greater meaning? We sell life insurance. We help people with, you know, in the event they die, that their beneficiaries are taken care of. As men, sometimes we deal with outside stuff, family stuff. How can we find greater purpose and meaning in what we do when we got all these forces around us that are just might not be positive, mostly negative?
You don't have to think about having an experience. It's happening. You're living your life, it's happening. All these four things, they are constantly recurring in our lives. And I argue in the book that it each of us has our own hero's journey, if you will. Each of us has our own opportunity to face our fears. The book is called Jump Twice, and it has to do with skydiving. And we could talk about that in a little bit. But the crux of it is facing your fears. So whatever your experience is, maybe you're not fearful in that experience. It's just something that's happening that you got to face, that you got to deal with. And it's your responsibility to be 10 toes down. I say 10 toes down, head in clouds, meaning I'm right here right now, but I'm thinking about the positivity. I'm thinking about the best possible outcome at all times. And so in the book, I write about the case for optimism or the case for positive thought. And I can't tell you the importance of positive thinking. And it can sound trite, it can sound whack, it can sound boring, but I've noticed this over and over again. I played football for a decade of my life. I grew up in Houston and I learned something about playing sports, and it was just reiterated to me. I saw this recently in a post. They were talking about tennis players. I'm a tennis fiend. I love tennis. And they were talking about the difference in the top players. Is it their diet? No. Is it their training regimen? No. Is it their skill or athleticism? No. It's how they approach the game. When you miss a shot or you miss an opportunity in business, do you think the worst? Or do you consider yourself, you know what? Or consider to yourself, you know what? I just missed that one. Get the next one. The joy of life, the joy of experience, the joy of doing. And so they did this study and they found among the best players in the world, the highest ranking athletes in this particular sport, tennis, the difference was mental. And I have coaches, I have friends in the league. My neighbor is a coach for the Rams, now a coach for the Minnesota Vikings. And we talk all the time about it being, at that level, at the elite level. And I trust that all of you men are doing your life at the elite level. And if you're not, let's get to it. It's neck up. It isn't your physicality. It isn't your everybody's big, fast, strong. How are you handling things mentally? What is your outlook on the situation? Because your thoughts multiply. Even if you don't say it out loud, if you're thinking negatively about what you're doing and or how you're going about it, it has a cumulative effect. So back to the tennis example, they found that having one thought about missing a shot and being like, no big deal, or having the opposite side, damn, I missed that shot. I'm not doing it. I'm not getting it done. Those things have a cumulative effect over the course of not a game, not a set, but over the course of the entire match, which could be anywhere from 2.5 to 5 hours. There's a cumulative effect. And the same is true in our lives. The same is true if you don't play a sport. If you, in your business, whatever your respective business is, I'm an actor by trade, and I can't tell you the number of people around me, I joke all the time that it's a good thing that we got a great mental health program because it's easy to go nuts or it's easy to get down, especially right now as the industry is changing. There's a lot of people who aren't thinking positively about what's going on around them. There is a cumulative effect on how you approach your life. And if you don't start like yesterday, looking for the optimism in your life, you're missing the opportunity.
Cass, talking about you being an actor, and I noticed because we saw like during COVID, Hollywood shut down. At the time I was acting, doing commercial work, and I got that. Reason why I started commercials, I started talking to you, and you told me what to do and things of that nature. But during COVID, Hollywood shut down, and you had to pivot. You had to pivot into the voiceover piece. Can you talk more about how, like, sometimes things are going your way, and you got to pivot, and you made a strong pivot, and what you did, you even talk about it in the book. So can you elaborate on that?
Man, we call it here the strike demic because not only did we have the pandemic, which affected everybody, we had not one, but two labor unions go on strike at the same time. So both the actors and the writers shut it down. And the hubris of Hollywood is that we think that you will always pay attention to us. And we found out the hard way that I always say, like, how the kids, you get your kids something and you buy this beautiful, expensive gift and they end up playing with the box. The kids will play with the box. Hollywood makes these beautiful image. We spend all this time on sets and microphones and they pay us well and they do all of these things. And it turns out people just want to see reels on Instagram. People just want to see cats and people falling down. And the hubris of Hollywood was that like we thought, well, as soon as we, get our act together, everybody will come right back. And that wasn't the case. For me, something interesting happened. I had a bit of I call it a Noah's Ark moment, where I just heard to start building a studio. This was like, shortly after what I call the awakening in 2018. I just heard just build a studio. And I was like, I don't need a studio. I go to my agent's office. They have studios. I got people there that can direct the thing. Like, what do I need to build a studio for? But I heeded that and I just started building. And I'll be damned if, as I was building it, didn't make any sense. And then COVID hits if the rains didn't come down. But I was prepared. When nobody could go anywhere, when everybody was locked down, and I don't know, again, I don't know where everybody's located, but California was for real on lockdown for a long time. And that was kind of wild. So even us, they called us essential workers, but nobody was doing anything. You couldn't go into a studio. So the only way people were working was if they had one at their home. And sure enough, things exploded for me in that way. But it was listening. It was being ready for that moment. And it's been wild, man, to see how things have changed for me in a way that it hasn't for others. And I'll say this too, this, you know, being prepared in your life matters, man. I think about the fact that when I was, 16 and I'm playing high school football in Texas, which is it's like religion there. I think about the idea that I would not give up choir, I would not give up the arts, and it became a point of friction. Are you going to play or are you going to, do this art stuff? And I refused to give up one or the other. But I did learn something. I learned that if I could handle my business, if I was proficient at what I was doing, people left me alone. If I yielded results on a football field, the art people didn't say nothing to me. If I did my thing in the arts, the football people didn't say anything to me. And as long as I handled my business, I was able to do that, to do both. I was unwilling to give up either. And as I sit here today before you, I'm telling you that I am the product of not compromising on my life. I will not choose. I love them both. And I'll be damned if the world isn't changing in such a fashion that brings together what I do best, which is live at the nexus of sports and entertainment. Nothing's bigger than sports. Nothing's bigger than live entertainment right now. I just saw Odyssey at the 4D, the big rocking and the woo 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 and the IMAX because it was shot for IMAX. It was shot for 70 millimeter. I'll just be a little, movie nerd for you. But Christopher Nolan, the director, he shoots this on 70 millimeter, which is designed to be seen on an IMAX. So if you've seen Odyssey, but you haven't seen it on an IMAX, then you haven't seen it how it was formatted for you in a smaller theater, but it's supposed to be seen on the biggest possible screen. What a fascinating thing to have this existence where I have tons of friends who are theater nerds, actors, but they don't know anything about sports. And as the world shifts its attention, somebody was talking about the Lakers. God bless them. As the world shifts its attention to the live entertainment, to the thing that can't be duplicated. Because now we're realizing, man, I'm working on a piece to accompany the book. We're going on a book tour. By the way, I should drop this. I'm going to drop a couple of things in the chat real quick. Uh, First is a link to the book. Next is a flyer for this thing we got going on.
So, hey, Caz, we do have an agent that's out there in LA with you, Terrence Maxwell. He's out
Say
there
it
in
again.
LA. Terrence is the agent that's out there in LA with you. He's out there in Cali.
Who's out here?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Terrence.
that's me.
Terrence.
Appreciate your
Um,
backstory. Appreciate you doing this for everybody. Much respect to you, man.
So yeah, he's out there in LA, man, out there with you. Now we did have a question. Are you gonna do an audio book? That was from PJ.
yeah, the audiobook will be part of the package. And I did it, and I'm excited about that. That's one of the things I'm actually really excited about. Um, it'll have some features that the that the paperback doesn't have. And so that's going to be a good look. Um, I'm excited about that part of it. The hang on one second, I'm gonna get you this flyer. We'll be out in DC for those of you on the in the DMV uh in a couple of months. And so yeah, I lost my train of thought, but I am excited about the audiobook coming out. I am excited about the paperback coming out.
All right, so somebody does have a question, Brandon. He said, "What do you say is the balance between knowing when to pivot versus giving up prematurely?"
If you're asking my opinion, I'm a burn the boats kind of guy. I'm plan A. I don't blink. I'm not going nowhere. It's funny in this business, people talk a lot about, a lot of the talk lately because the change in the business is what it is. There's a lot of conversation like, would you leave? Would you go maybe to Atlanta or would you go to Austin? Would you go somewhere else? And it's like for a lot of reasons, I'm plan A and I'm here in LA. One of those is the weather is undefeated. Y'all can't do what we do nowhere on the planet. Maybe in the Mediterranean. Um, and I have found something fascinating about that too, is that weather affects your attitude. Again, it's a cumulative thing. It's not like overnight if you spend some time in some cold. It's not like overnight if you spend the summer in Houston. But over time, man, weather has an effect on us. Um, but I'm a big proponent of plan A. See it through, make adjustments, figure it out if that's what you intend. But your heart's got to be in it. I guess the moment to pivot would be if your heart ain't in it. You know, it's like sometimes I trip out about, I have a lot of friends who are professional athletes, and those of us who are spectators like to make the decision for them. Man, they need to hang it up. People have been doing this their whole lives. They get to decide when they hang it up. They've earned that. And and they know when they know. I've talked to guys who'd be like, "Yeah, man, this is it for me." When your heart's not in it, when you don't feel like getting up, like for me, I love football. I love everything about it. I love the smell of the fresh cut grass. I love sweating. I love violence. I love football. I love scheming. I love uniforms. I love commentary about it. I love football. But when you're done. And when I before my last game, actually I'm going to my alma mater, Trinity University in San Antonio. Before my last home game, I sat in the parking lot because I didn't know if it was going to be the last time I ever played football again. But I had that morning because I knew that it was close. That didn't happen to be our last game. We continued on, but it was our last home game. And it was the last time I'd suit up in front of the people that came to see us. The pivot comes when you know that you're done. If you don't feel like you're done, man, I can't imagine living like I shoulda, coulda, or woulda. That's just not in my DNA. That is antithetical to everything that I believe, but I put my heart in it. So if you put your heart into something, man, do work and make it work. But if your heart ain't in it no more, if you've done it, you've had enough, I suppose that would be your pivot.
Kaz, it's funny you said that, man, because me and you both spoke in high schools, and COVID pivoted me out of that because the school shut down. And when I tried to go back in 21 to speak at high schools, it was just different. I always said if I wasn't relevant to the students, I wouldn't do it no more. It's like my heart, I tried, but then I had to be conscious of, hey, not saying little boy, but hey, you in the red shirt, who do you identify as? Because I can't offend nobody and I can't say little girl, can't say little boy. Gotta ask what they are. My heart was not in it. It was a hard decision to let them know I'm not coming back. I'm not doing it no more. But I realized, like what you just said, my heart won't in it. So it wasn't a big decision to make because I just didn't have the passion to do it no more.
Yeah. Yeah. When you know, right?
You know. Let me ask you this, man. So, far as performance and discipline, if, what do you think that football gave you? Well, we know about the competitive edge. You love football, this and that. Like athletes have that thing that drives us. Not everybody on this screen was an athlete, but what thing can we tap into to drive us, even when we got so much going up against us?
I was just talking to a buddy of mine who is in the coaching game at the highest level. And he said something to me. He wrote something in a birthday card, and it said essentially, discipline brings freedom. Discipline brings freedom. And I thought about what my life has been. And I thought, and then what is discipline? Well, discipline's doing it when you don't want to. Discipline's getting up even if you don't feel like it. I was playing tennis Saturday, and there was a girl out there who plays tennis 5, 6 days a week. She's very, 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 very good at it. And she didn't want to be out there, but she was out there. Her arm was hurting. She had tennis elbow, but she was out there. And I salute that, man. I salute people who are committed to the task, no matter how they feel, because feelings change, man. And we live in a society right now where a lot of people talk about how they feel. And I'm not tripping. We should express our feelings, even as men. It's important to have feelings and acknowledge them, but be mindful that feelings are like the wind. So for me, one of the biggest things that football gave me was I say you can't teach want to. So that discipline, that drive, that want to succeed is been invaluable. And I talk to I have friends in pharmaceutical sales who manage, large groups, and they tell me that you can tell the difference between people who played sports and who didn't. I hear that from hiring managers all the time. I'm a shadow advisor for a couple of companies, and there is something that happens when you test yourself in that arena. My coach in high school used to say that the difference between students and student athletes were all students take tests. Athletes test themselves in front of everybody. And it does change you. It does make a difference. It does harden you in a different way to to deal with what comes. And it's not true for everybody. And I say it this way too. Everything can't be taught. Some things got to be caught. So you've got to know for yourself where to find that discipline. I couldn't say it to you. I couldn't give it to you. I couldn't hand it to you. You got to catch that.
We have a question in the chat, um, and it basically said, if you're going through a personal storm, how do you lay that to the side to work a business that is emotional and requires a positive attitude when you're going through something personal?
Man, man. I don't know how many of you have seen Odyssey, but the story is all of our story. Joseph Campbell, if you're familiar with his writing, he talks about the hero's journey. And essentially, it's what Odysseus goes through. It's what all of us will go through. What happens is we have life, we have our experiences, and then all of a sudden, we have to go off and we have to see some things, endure some things, giants, monsters, emotional stress. I lost my mother when I was 19 years old. I was a sophomore in college. I was working with MTV. I was studying. I was playing football. And now the sort of North Star in my life is gone. And I talk to my ex-wife's my sister-in-law, and she said, how did you do that? And you don't think about it in that way, is my experience. You just know that you've got to deal. Like your options in this existence are pretty straightforward. Either you will or you won't. Either you will deal with what's going on around you, either you will still your nerves and settle yourself, or you won't. It's really that simple. And when it comes down to that kind of binary thing, and you've decided to make the choice, I will move forward, even though I'm experiencing these difficult things in my life, well, then you can do something. Because see, the whole thing in a hero's journey is that once you go out and face the world, and it's so funny, man. If you haven't read or seen the Odyssey, it is worth investing. I'm a nerd, so I've read the Iliad and the Odyssey like during summer just for fun. But what happens is everything that you can imagine going wrong does. And if you've experienced any kind of trauma in your own life, you know that things go sideways. And sometimes it's a monster, like Polyphemus, or the that's the name of the Cyclops. And sometimes it's a girl, like Calypso, who had Odysseus on an island for 7 years, eating lotus flowers, hoping to make him immortal and stay with her. But ultimately, the man comes back to himself and realizes where he is in his journey and decides, I got to go home. And he gets his ass on a raft and finds his way home. Now, what happens for a hero in a hero's journey is that not only do you have to go through all of these things in the wild, whatever happens in your own personal experience, you've got to come back with something. You've got to come back different. You've got to come back affected, changed. And in each of our lives, that is unequivocally going to be the case. We are constantly changing, all of us. I talk about in the book that none of us are wearing the same skin we were wearing 27 days ago. We're always changing. But over the course of a long period, like the Odyssey in our own lives, our own Odyssey, things are going to happen. But you've got to find your way back to you. You've got to be prepared to deal with all that comes, whether it's a woman, whether it's a storm, whether it's a monster in the form of, uh, you know, financial or physical. I just read the story of this girl who got her arm bit off in swimming in a river in Florida. It's like there are real life monsters out there. And some of them are physical and some of them are mental. Some of them are health related. Some of them are out of your control. Most of it's out of your control. But what I will say is you've got to control what you can and let go of the rest. Because there's so much that you cannot control in this existence. But what you can control, man, you better get a hold of it. And so if you're going through something, not if, when you go through something, invariably all of us can and will. When Kendall called me that night, his father died, man, I knew in that moment this was a monster for him. This is a big moment in his life. Will he or won't he? And as I sit before you and he sits before you, I tell you that he will. And that's the truth of all of us. Will you or won't you? The things you can control, control them. The things you cannot, not your business.
Kaz, crazy thing about it, man. You said you got to come back from it. And I remember we talked because I was dealing with financial stuff and marriage falling apart and all this stuff. And me and you, we might not done made the best choices, the best decisions. And I remember telling, we were talking, I said, man, I don't even like who I am right now.
Mm,
I didn't like the version of me at that time. Like
mm.
when I look back on it, I did some reckless stuff, and we not going into detail. You know some of the reckless stuff I did, and it was like, man, I just didn't like that person. But in the midst of that, I was grieving. My marriage was dying, and my kids didn't like me. It was like because of like my kids was like they thought I don't know what they thought. Our relationship was great now, but at that time, you were my confidant. You the person I talked to because my dad wasn't the person around that I could talk to about it. And I told you, I said I didn't like who I was. So, Neil, to answer your question, man, that's what this group is for. But you got to control what you can and then let go of what you can't control. You know, what you can't control. Um, who had a hand up? Agent double 007. You had a question.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, Ken. Appreciate it, Cass, for being here, man. Thank you for your input and your knowledge, bro. But my question was, you said something about in the beginning, your industry, the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
When COVID happened, did that make y'all better, your industry better, or did it make it worse? And where y'all at right now with that? Because I thought in the beginning, my opinion, it made it worse. When you said everybody wanted to see something, real, I guess you'd say. That's kind of where I'm at with that. I mean, I always thought about that in terms of the industry like that. Did it make it worse, your industry, or did it make it better? Because it made our industry better a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like it depends on who you ask. For me, it's like again, sports was such a huge part of my existence that like, I think about two things a lot. I think about behavioral science and I think about sports science. Behavioral science tells us about who and how we are. Sports science tells us about who and how we are in the crucible when things are tight, when pressure starts to cook. And to me, I don't mind being in the crucible. I don't mind being in the pressure. And I know some people tapped out. I know a lot of people had to pack up, and that's part of it. But for those who have stayed, those who are in it, those who are thriving, there's a recognition that, okay, the world is shifting beneath our feet. How do we adjust? Because I don't care what business you're in, the model is the same, adapt or die.
All right.
Either you're meeting the needs of the people before you or you are not. And if you're not, somebody's willing to. And so for us, I think that there have been, some huge, huge successes, some huge innovations, some huge pivots in how we do storytelling. And quite honestly, like one of the things that killed me about my business for a long time was, man, Hollywood is so fake. And I don't do fake. And so one of the things it compelled because art imitates life, one of the things it mandated we do that people like demanded from us was, man, it's got to be more real. The acting's got to be real, the set's got to be real, stuff's got to be real. And we still have grand epics, we still tell wild stories, but even the wild stories are told with authenticity to some degree. You see these actors, if you go back and watch films from the 90s, um, if you go watch a comedy from the 90s and you watch a comedy from today, they are worlds apart. A comedy today looks like a drama. It's serious, it's heavy, and then there's some moments of levity. Because look, man, the world is different. There's a
Mhm.
lot of unhappiness right now. There's a lot of, just heaviness right now. So you can't be out here trying to tell comedy stories in a world that's like not real. Nobody's gonna buy it. So did it make our business better? Yeah, for those who are interested in being better. And I'm always interested in being better.
Mhm. Okay. Appreciate it.
So, so Kaz, what does the meaning jump twice? What does that mean?
Oh man. All right. The short part of this is in 2019, I decided to jump out of a plane. perfectly fine aircraft. And the idea behind it was not that, I'm some thrill seeker, like I'm just out here, adrenaline junkie. It was it was the notion of like, this is actually a terrifying thing to me. But what might it mean to face that fear and live to tell the tale? And so in that miniature hero's journey, I knew I had to go and face that thing, but I couldn't come back without a story. And the book was born out of that. But the thing that was, so what happened, what happened was we go to jump out of this plane, me and my wife, and we're climbing up this, in this little bitty aircraft, and it's working. You got a lot of time to consider, like, man, did I make the right decision? And I was going up, and there was a guy on his 16th jump on the plane with us. This is my first jump. And we get all the way to the altitude, 13,000 feet is where you're supposed to be. And the instructor looks at the guy because he's by himself. He's 16 jumps in. I'm still tandem. It's my first jump. This guy's a former NASCAR racer, so he is the adrenaline junkie type. He's got this strange look on his face. After the guy's like, go, 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 he hesitates. And that look on his face was like, bro, why is he looking like that? It unsettled me. But he jumped, and then I jumped, and it was amazing. It was incredible. Coming down the California coastline, the silence, the beauty, the moment, that experience. We get down on the ground, we get back to the headquarters, and Clayton was his name, the guy who's on the 16th jump, the race car driver. He said, "Hey, Caz, man." He's from South Carolina. "Hey, Caz, man, I don't think we went up. We didn't go up to 13,000 feet. I have my altimeter here, and it says we only went up 12,500." And I said, being me, I went over to the people and I said, "So I had to pay for every pound I was over 200 pounds. You have to pay for every pound you're over 200 pounds. I was 210. So I had to pay whatever it was for those 10 pounds." And so I said, I had to pay for every pound, man. I want every foot of my jump. I needed my 500 feet. And they said, just give us a moment. Okay. So they go and have a sidebar. The manager comes back and he says, "Well, we can't give you a 500-foot jump because you would die. But if you want to jump, you can do so again right now. I'm here for it." And I told my wife, I said, anybody who knows me knows that I'm gonna jump, I'm getting back in this plane. You got to decide what side of the story you want to be on. And it was in that moment, and she made the decision too. She also was going to jump, terrified out of her mind. And it was quite encouraging to me to see someone else, who was more fearful than I was in a lot of ways, decide to jump twice. And so the book's title is really about facing your fears, and inevitably, when those fears come again, when you find yourself in the Odyssey and some other monster on some other island, you've got to face that fear again. And the idea is that if you're going to jump, man, you got to be here for it. You got to be ready to jump twice.
I don't even know. I think that's almost like a mic drop, man. I mean, so Kaz, you're gonna be in DC November the 15th. So you already know, man. Already know we linking up. Hakeem lives in DC, so he said I'll connect y'all. He said anything you need. Um,
That
yeah, any other cities you're gonna be on the East Coast?
we'll be in New York in the at the top of the year. We'll
Okay.
be in New York, and I think I told you Philly as well.
Yeah, you said Philly. Yeah, we got a
Yeah,
couple of
Philly.
agents in Philly too. I'll come there too. So I'll hit you. I'll be in DC and I'll probably
Yeah.
hit Philly too. Yeah. Yeah.
And we got
Yeah.
good friends over at CBS Philly, man, who've been really, really kind to us, man. I think you know that I voice some stuff for CBS Philly, and
Right.
they've shown a lot of love in the city of brotherly love. So excited to touch down there, excited to be in New York, and definitely excited to be in DC. If anybody else is in that area, Busboys and Poets is the venue, and it is a historic venue. It's such a dope space. So many writers have come through there, so many authors. And it's a unique space, man. So we're excited about that. We got the launch. The book comes out September 17th. We're having a launch party in LA. If anybody's going to be in LA, the launch party is going to be on the 26th. Kendall, I'll send you all the details, man. If you want to
Okay,
come through,
cool. Yeah, I might have to fly out there, man. Most
it's going
definitely.
to be a vibe. It's going to be a vibe. We're going to do some things that we likely won't do at other venues too. There's a good chance I'll be doing some instrumentals. I might do some playing and whatnot. So it should be a good look.
Hey, so Kaz, man, what is one thing, one nugget you can leave these gentlemen with? I know what you want them to. What do you think they will learn from this book? What's a nugget? Like give them a Kaz nugget, man.
Kazism.
A Kazism, man. Give them a Kazism, man.
Well, look, man, the only thing that's been on my, I mean, not the only thing, but something that's been heavy on my mind and that I'll be talking about during the tour and after is the case for optimism. And consider this um, both an encouragement and a challenge to find something that you will be optimistic about. In fact, here's my belief. What we know is that we are moving in retraction as it relates to being a literate society, meaning we're using less words, people are reading less. I decided to write a book. People are reading less, people are using less words. What are the words that we're going to use? And if we can flood the ether with words of positivity, words of optimism, maybe, just maybe, those words will be ones that stay. Because what we know is that words aren't forever. Languages do come and go. They're not always going to be here. We might not always speak English. There are lots of languages that have been lost throughout time, but we have remnants of languages. We use them still. We say toilet. That's a French word. The language is going to change. If anything is going to remain, man, it's my ambition that words of optimism stay. The alternative is not a good look. If we continue to flood our ether with negativity, how might this thing shake out? So I'm ringing the alarm bells. It's like, yo, all hands are on deck. People are not happy. You can see that. Look at the happiness index from around the globe. We know that the Nordic countries tend to be happy. They're largely homogenous. That makes sense. They all kind of are the same and they get along. That's a broad statement, not entirely true, but you understand the idea. We're a very diverse society in these states. People aren't happy. There was a survey and they found that in the late 70s, early 80s, 61% of people trusted their neighbors. They did this more recently. It's down to 30. We're unhappy. We're mistrustful. And you can look at the education by any measurable statistic. The one thing that excited me is that Mississippi is doing better than even California right now in terms of young education and literacy and math, STEM and engineering and math and sciences. But largely, we're not doing well. Our infrastructure is falling apart. There's a lot to be unhappy about. But if we can establish a baseline of flooding the ether with optimism, my both encouragement and challenge to you is to find something that you are optimistic about and tell someone else. And you can do that every day if you want. You can do it every week. You can do it every month, every other month, however it shakes out for you. But my idea is this. If we say things out loud to other people and grow the idea of optimism exponentially, how might that shift our society? Things might not be going great, but if we can move our minds in a way that says we'll be optimistic about it, we'll figure it out. There's a lot more that can be done. Going back to the tennis example, it's cumulative. It's not overnight. It won't change tomorrow. But over the course of a game and a set and a match that is life, Those of us who are thinking in a positive fashion will have more energy at the end because it actually costs you more energy to be sweating everything in your life. It actually makes your brain work. It makes your heart work. I tell people all the time, my mama died of stress. Cancer took my mother. Breast cancer took my mother. But I think she was stressed. And I think it's important in our lives that we be the ones in our communities, in our homes, in our interactions with others, to be the ones who are optimistic. It's easy. It's easy. Bad news travels fast and good news doesn't last. It's easy to find what's wrong. Talk about what's going right. Find something to be optimistic about and share that out loud with other people. As the language retracts, let it be our mandate that some of the words that get left behind are words of optimism.
Yo, man, I appreciate you, man. Man, you know I love you, bro. I
Love you
appreciate
too,
you
man.
taking this time to pour into these gentlemen. Man, you pour into me, I pour into you, man. We've been there for each other. And that's why I say, team, who you surround yourself with, fellas, who you surround yourself with is huge. Because when you're having a bad day, you have somebody that you can talk to. You have somebody who can relate to. So you have somebody just to listen. That's why this group is so important. So, Kaz, I appreciate you, man, for taking the time, man. We're gonna chop it up, a little bit afterwards. Get me all those dates that you had coming up with the book. Fellas, I advise you to get this book. And now you see why he's the voice of LA. You hear his voice, the voiceover. You hear the tone, the tonality, everything we do in insurance. And what we do is when we talk to clients, we're acting, we're performing, but we're helping the clients get in a better position, which ultimately is going to help us get in a better position. So, um, I think we got one more comment.
I
All
just wanted to
right,
say, can you hear me?
go ahead.
Can you hear me okay? Or
Yeah,
nah?
we hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. What's up, Caz? I'm
What's up,
Hakeem.
man?
I live out here in DC. I've been here for like 20 years, went to Howard. My
Okay,
minor was acting and theater. My
okay,
major was business. I've been in the music industry for 25 years. I've been all over the world, all over the country.
okay,
I pivoted into insurance within the past 12 months, and I have a background in software development as well
okay.
and marketing. So if you need any help with getting the word out about the book, anything technical you don't want to do because you're busy doing the PR of it, just let Kendall know and we can come up with some kind of plan to make it work for you. But we also want to maximize your visit in the DC market, making sure you're getting the most out of your time while you're here. So look forward to talking with you more. Thanks for your time,
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Akeem.
I'll definitely connect y'all too. I'll connect
Yep,
y'all too.
yep.
So look, man, team, that's what this call is about. It's about, empowering us men because a lot of times we deal with stuff. We don't tell nobody. We keep it to ourselves. You got to be strong for everybody. You got to find your way through by yourself. But that's why this group was put in place. So, Kaz, bro, man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the time. I did record it, so we'll download and make sure you get it. And with your blessing, we want to put it on our YouTube page as well.
Bet, bet.
All right, fellas. Appreciate everybody. Thank you. Go have some
Thank
dinner
you,
with your
man.
family. All right, thank you, man.